You guys, I spent the weekend watching Never Have I Ever, and I binged it all in one day. Mindy Kaling's new series on Netflix is called Never Have I Ever. It's loosely based on her life, and I can totally see that. The first thing that struck me was the fact that the main character, Debbie, goes through a trauma in her life, and even though she's this supposedly nerdy young woman who's all about college and about good grades, this Indian American first generation girl is also very bold and sassy and brave, and I love that. As someone who was kind of like that in high school, I can totally relate. She wasn't the typical teen drama, shy and awkward girl. I think she was awkward, but she was still very bold and sassy, and she was very firm about what she wanted, and she wasn't afraid to go ahead and get it, even if it wasn't the best thing for her at that time. The show was extremely inclusive. Not only did she have other Asian American friends, but she also had an Afro-Latina in her life. And we also got to see them interact with their own parents and have episodes kind of dedicated to them. At the forefront of this show, I think the best thing about it not only was Debbie in therapy with her therapist, who is played by Niecy Nash, whom I love, you guys know. And we get to see a teen in therapy for counseling for grieving a loss, and I don't think we've seen that enough. I think we've seen it, but we haven't seen enough about that therapist and patient relationship when it comes to teen dramedies. The second thing I loved about it is the women of the show and their interconnection. I love the fact that at the very beginning, we're supposed to all be super jealous of Debbie's cousin, who is this pretty beautiful young woman, but she's also like super smart. And I love the nuance that they have her in. She's supposed to be in an arranged marriage, but she loves someone else. And even though at the very end something very comical happens, I love the fact that she wasn't just a typical, okay, I'm pretty and I'm here and I'm supposed to just make everyone jealous, but she also was very brave in her own way, and she was dealing with her own problems, but she was also really smart. Debbie's relationship with her mom is so typical of my relationship with my mom as well. I think that one of the great things about it was the fact that we got to see her mom also grieve, and her mom's journey coming to the United States, settling everything here, and then we see Debbie kind of maybe not super appreciative of everything that her mom went through. And I think a lot of us first generation and even like immigrants or young immigrants, when we come here, we kind of sometimes forget about what our parents went through and the decisions that they had to make and how they had to really reinvent themselves in their lives here in a new country. Debbie reminded me of me when I was in high school a lot, not just because she was a little bit sassy and out there, even though she was super nerdy, but she had a really core, great group of friends. And I think that her relationship with her friends is very typical of teens, where there's one person who has a lot more going on, and she was, being told that she was selfish and things like that. I think that the show did a really great job of not shying away. They didn't have the perfect relationship, and they weren't fighting over guys and things like that, but they actually dealt with a lot of drama and trauma in their own little world, and it showcased like how can they be allies, but then also how can they deal with things on their own. One of my favorite quotes from the show was when Debbie was trying to go on and make up with her friends, and one of them says, we miss our old friend and right now you're not her. Like, instead of making a really big deal about everything that was going on or even become catty, I think that phrase was really well written. And I think sometimes instead of being catty, we can tell the person like, hey, you're not really acting like yourself. It's not that I don't like you or anything like that, or I don't want to be your friend. It's more of like, we miss our old friends and right now you're not her. If you love the sweetness of All the Boys I Loved Before, but the sassiness of something like MTV's Awkward, you will love this series. I actually really enjoyed it because it reminded me of 10 Things I Hate About You, both the show and the movie. If you guys haven't watched it, I really recommend it. I'm all here for inclusivity and having these more dynamic teens on TV or streaming. So if you guys want to check out my full review, not just about the show, but what I thought about the women of the show and the characterization of each one of them, please read my blog, TV Time with Maggie. I'm happy to do more reviews as more POC-led shows are coming out, especially for young viewers. So let me know what you guys thought about Never Have I Ever, and if you guys want me to check out another show.